Hi, I'm James Morley from Europeana, and I'm going to spend the next just under 10 minutes doing this quick video presentation of Europeana's reusable content, Europeana Labs, and the Europeana API. So, Europeana Labs, this is where we showcase our data, we demonstrate the inspiring things that other developers have done, and we also provide all of the documentation that will allow developers to get started very quickly in using the API and accessing the content. In the site we have data sections here. And here, to be featured here, they have to be openly licensed collections, they have to be of good quality, and you have to have access to reasonably high resolution original images in the case of photographs, or media files in the case of video and audio. So you can see some of the things we've recently featured. These were added just in the last month to the Europeana database. And there's a huge variety here, including user contributed content related to 1989, World War I in here as well. A huge diversity of collections, and some of them with a lot of objects as well. If I come back up to the top and we visit the app section, here we will find examples of things that people have created using the API. And without going into any specific examples for sake of speed, you can explore this at your leisure. So as I say, it's labs.europeana.eu and then /apps for this particular section. There's a very diverse range of things from research tools. There's an open source library in here as well of tools that people can use to access them. And these could be anything from hacks that have been put together at hackathons right through to full-blown production applications. So if anybody comes up with anything new that's very creative and innovative, we will be sure to feature it here. There's also a blog section and events just aimed at fostering a sense of community and giving you more inspiration and things to do and advice. And we are just starting to develop a incubation support where people with ideas that might want some business help, business model planning, access to finance and so on, we can help them through there. If I come to the APIs section, that's where you'll find all of the documentation. We have linked open data, REST API, there's a search widget as well, but let's just focus now on the REST API. If we look at the introduction, obviously the first thing you will need to do is to register for an API key. The authentication for most of our calls is very, very simple. You just pass your API key in a parameter of your requests, and it's as simple as that. So if we just do a little bit of exploring here, there are several methods, but the two main ones are the search method and the record method. If we look at the documentation for the search method, you will see that there are all sorts of ways that all sorts of parameters you can add to your requests, and different ways that you can get responses back in terms of the types of items that are the types of metadata that will be returned, which will depend on your particular use case. But you can see here that there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of power in those methods. The easiest way, though, to explore the API is to look at our API console, and in this you can build searches. If I run a search here for bicycle, you'll see in the console we will have our the example of the JSON response here. But at the top here, you can see this is the URL that you would have to pass to the API to make this request in your own application. And this is the API key here, where obviously you would substitute your own key. So there's all sorts of different things we can do as well to refine the queries. We can just look for images, for example. There are spatial parameters in terms of geography, temporal parameters, so you can limit it to the time. Obviously, a lot of these things are very dependent on the quality of the metadata that we've been provided. And then perhaps the most important one here is to do with the licensing. So you can just, for example, if you have a commercial application, you would need to select this one, which would just show you or just return results that are allowed for commercial reuse. And then it will tell you whether they are maybe public domain or CC0, in which case you wouldn't even need, although it's good practice to give attribution, or ones that are perhaps CC BY, where it is a requirement of the license that you provide that attribution. As I mentioned before, you can get different things back. So you have our standard profile here, but also if, for example, you want access to the higher resolution images where they're available, you could choose the rich profile, and that will return the URLs to those in the results. And then there's some quite specific ones around breadcrumbs and facets, which allows you to return not necessarily objects, but summary statistics and data about those. Within our documentation section, you can read up a lot more about all of those different things. I'll just finish quickly this part of the presentation in the data section, because this can be also very useful, because each of these here, you might have noticed earlier, has a couple of links here, and they allow you to explore those collections either in our portal. I'll just open this up in a new tab, or in our API console, which is what I was just showing you there. So if we look to our portal, here you can see that data set. My internet connection here seems rather slow, but you can see the query here is looking for that particular collection name, and in this case returning 24 rows, but obviously the number of results and the pagination is also something you can control both in the portal and in the API. If we go to our API console for this set and wait for that to load, here we can see the request. So again, query, Europeana collection name, and here we have the starting at record 1, and the number of rows, and this, in this case, the standard profile, which you could change down here if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to look for certain licenses and so on. Although in this case, all of them will be available under an open license because of that particular data set. And at the top of the JSON response, we have the total number of results and the items count, which is how many have been returned by this particular call. So just to quickly conclude then, in terms of support, once you get started, there are no doubt going to be questions. Hopefully our documentation is extensive and will provide answers, so visit labs.europeana.eu to look things up there. But of course we're also available for any questions you might have to answer them in person as best we can. You can email us at api@europeana.eu. We have a Google group, a forum there, so bit.ly/API, all capitals, and then forum with a capital F. That's a short URL to the full forum, and you can tweet us as well at Europeana Tech. So we will aim to provide a response as quickly as possible through all of those channels, and we look forward to hearing you and wish you luck with using the API. Thank you.